Part 1: An Empire at the Crossroads. In a world divided by faith and power, one empire stood as a beacon of Christianity and civilization. The Byzantine Empire, confronting the Islamic world for 8 centuries, was not just a political force, but the heart of Orthodox Christianity. Its capital, Constantinople, housed the magnificent Hagia Sophia, a symbol of divine wisdom and architectural marvel. Christianity's bastions were twofold: Constantinople, with its great Hagia Sophia, and Rome, home to the Vatican. These were not merely cities, but capitals of faith, guarding the spiritual legacy of millions. Yet, beyond the horizon, a prophecy whispered among the sands and stars spoke of their eventual conquest. The prophecy lingered, a distant dream, until the first glimmer of its fulfillment shone with Sultan Muhammad the Conqueror. The conquest of Constantinople, a moment that reshaped history, leaving Rome, the other half of the promise, waiting as the world watched and wondered. Join us as we journey back to the crossroads of civilizations, where the destiny of empires was written in blood and steel. Welcome to Historical Corridors and the story, the Battle of Manzikert. Part 2: The Clash of Titans, Byzantium and Islam. In an era when Rome's glory had waned, the Byzantine Empire emerged as the Christian bulwark against the tide of Islamic conquests. This enduring conflict, spanning centuries, was marked by 3 pivotal battles that reshaped the medieval world: Yarmouk, Manzikert, and the conquest of Constantinople. 1. The Battle of Yarmouk, 636 AD, the dawn of Islamic expansion. The Battle of Yarmouk, a cataclysmic encounter, swept the Roman-Byzantine forces from the Levant and Egypt, signaling the meteoric rise of Islamic power. This was not merely a military victory, but a moment that charted a new course for civilizations. 2. The Battle of Manzikert, 1054 AD, a new horizon. At Manzikert, the Byzantines' grip on Anatolia was shattered, forever altering the region's destiny. Historians dub Manzikert as the Second Yarmouk, a testament to its seismic impact. The Asian gates to Constantinople were now ajar, heralding a new era. 3. The Conquest of Constantinople, 1453 AD, the end of an era. The final act, the conquest of Constantinople, extinguished the Byzantine Empire, paving Islam's path into Eastern Europe. Vienna itself felt the reverberations of this monumental event, a conquest that fulfilled centuries-old prophecies. Separated by 4 centuries, the battles of Yarmouk, Manzikert, and Constantinople are not just historical landmarks, but milestones in the cultural and religious tapestry of our world. Each battle, a turning point, heralded the dawn of new eras, shaping the destinies of peoples and nations. In the annals of history, these clashes between Byzantium and Islam are remembered not merely for the territories won or lost, but for the civilizations they birthed. And so, the legacy of these battles endures, woven into the fabric of our shared human story. Part 3: Rising from the Ashes, the Seljuk Resurgence. The 11th century marked a pivotal awakening across the Islamic world, a renaissance born from the ashes of prior centuries' strife. The landscape, once dominated by the comprehensive Shiite control of the Buyids, the Karmatians, and the Ubaid Fatimid Ismaili state, was witnessing a seismic shift. While Andalusia flourished, far from its shores, the Islamic East and West were on the brink of transformation. the emergence of the Ghaznavid state, the ascendancy of the Seljuks, and the Almoravids' defense of Andalusia reshaped the map of the Islamic world. The Seljuks, a formidable Turkish power, emerged from the steppes of Turkestan, crafting an empire that stretched from Khorasan to the Levant. Under Tughril Bey, they liberated the Abbasid Caliphate from a century of Shiite Buyid dominance, heralding a new era of Sunni resurgence. However, the death of Tughril Bey brought Alp Arslan to the forefront, the rebel lion destined to confront a politically fragmented landscape. The Byzantine Empire, seizing upon the Islamic world's earlier weakness, had reclaimed swaths of territory, igniting fires of conflict that would soon draw the two empires into a historic clash. Alp Arslan faced a Byzantine menace pressing on Asia Minor and the Levant, regions bloodied by conflict and marked by the scars of past Byzantine aggressions. It was against this backdrop that the stage was set for a confrontation of epic proportions, a battle that would not only decide the fate of empires, but also shape the medieval world order. As the Seljuk Empire poised on the brink of this monumental conflict, the Islamic world watched, the echoes of past triumphs and tragedies resonating in the hearts of its people. The legacy of the Seljuks, and indeed the future of the Islamic resonance, hinged on what was to come. Part 4. The inevitable clash, Byzantine ambitions and Seljuk resurgence. As the Levant bled under the relentless Byzantine aggression, a distant power was on the rise. The Ubaid Fatimid state, once a guardian of these lands, now languished in weakness, unable to fend off the encroaching threats. The Byzantine and Ubaid eyes were fixed on a new horizon, where the Seljuk Turks, masters of a realm stretching from the depths of Khorasan to the shores of the Levant, emerged as the formidable force of Sunni Islam. Armenia and the Euphrates Peninsula, once cradles of Islamic presence, had been compromised. The Byzantine and Ubaid ambition had planted seeds of discord in these lands, now caught in the crosshairs of an empire's expansion and another's survival. It was here, among these contested territories, that destiny would conspire to bring about an inevitable confrontation. As the Seljuk forces advanced and the Byzantine Empire extended its reach, the stage was set for a showdown. In the shadows of ancient lands, where empires rose and fell, the battle for supremacy awaited. The meeting of these titans was not just inevitable, it was destined. Part 5. The Gambit of Alp Arslan. In a daring move, Alp Arslan faced an army 13 times the size of his own. Romano's 4 Diogenes, commanded by a formidable host estimated at 200,000, aimed to crush the Seljuk presence and extend his empire into the heart of Persia. Among his ranks, a diverse coalition reflecting the vastness of the Byzantine dominion: Russians, Kharej, Greeks, Armenians, Romans, and even non-Islamic Turks. Caught between the hammer of the Byzantine advance and the anvil of his own strategic predicament, Alp Arslan, with merely 15,000 of his finest warriors, conceived a bold stratagem, not from a position of weakness, but of calculated courage. He would extend the olive branch of a truce. Before the sun could cast its judgment on the battlefield, Alp Arslan ordered an audacious attack on the Byzantine vanguard, predominantly Russian forces, to sow confusion and assert his unwillingness to submit quietly into the annals of conquest. In the chaos that followed, a message was sent to the Byzantine camp. Alp Arslan, Sultan of the Seljuk Empire, requested a truce. A move as bold as this was unexpected, aiming not only to halt the Byzantine advance, but to negotiate from a newfound position of strength. The request placed Romanos IV in a quandary. To accept the truce would mean acknowledging the Seljuks as a force not easily dismissed. To deny it would propel his forces into a battle that had suddenly become unpredictable. What ensued was a moment of decision, a pivot upon which the fate of empires would turn. Would the Byzantine emperor heed the call for peace? Or would the lands of Armenia bear witness to a clash of titans, the outcome of which could redefine the power dynamics of the medieval world? Part 6. The Resolve of Alp Arslan. Faced with an overwhelming Byzantine force, Alp Arslan stood at a crossroads that would define the future of his empire and the Islamic world. The loss of 20,000 enemy soldiers was a statement, yet Romanos IV's dismissive retort echoed with disdain and underestimation. "I will respond when I reach the Ray," he declared, the Seljuk capital under an implicit threat. Retreat was not merely a physical withdrawal, but a forfeiture of hard-won gains in Armenia and the Levant. It spelled disaster for Muslim morale and would leave cities vulnerable to massacre and pillage. Conversely, battle meant risking everything on the gamble of victory against staggering odds. It was in this moment of uncertainty that Alp Arslan found clarity. Encouraged by Nasser bin Abdul Malik al-Bukhari, with the conviction that their own course was blessed by divine promise, Alp Arslan resolved to meet destiny head-on. "You are fighting for a religion that God has promised victory," the jurist proclaimed, a beacon of faith in the impending storm. With a heart fortified by faith and a mindset on the preservation of his people and their achievements, Alp Arslan rallied his elite. 15,000 against 200,000. The odds were daunting. Yet the spirit of the Seljuk warriors was indomitable. They would not yield to fear or numerical superiority. Part 7. The Strategy and the Stand. In a bold move that would forever echo in the annals of military history, Alp Arslan transformed vulnerability into valor. Facing an army of overwhelming numbers, he chose to elevate the spirits of his warriors, not through words of command, but through an act of profound solidarity. "Here, today, there is no sultan, nor soldiers to command," he declared, stripping away his royal garb for the white of a shroud, embodying the readiness to embrace martyrdom. His gesture of holding his horse's tail signified an unwavering resolve to stand firm, a silent vow that retreat was not an option. This poignant moment of prayer, of a leader invoking divine favor, served to galvanize his men, binding them in a shared purpose and unshakable courage. The discovery of a trench encircling the Byzantine camp revealed cracks in the facade of invincibility. It was a sign of caution, perhaps even fear, among the ranks of an enemy projecting unassailable strength. For the Seljuks, this was a glimmer of hope, an indication that the battle was not just a test of might, but also of morale. Alp Arslan's leadership, marked by a blend of spiritual conviction and tactical ingenuity, set the stage for a confrontation that would defy the odds. In the face of a seemingly insurmountable challenge, the Seljuks prepared to leverage their agility, unity, and the element of surprise, transforming their numerical disadvantage into strategic opportunities. As dawn approached, the Seljuk forces stood ready, united under the banner of faith and leadership. They were not just fighting for territory, but for a cause greater than themselves. In this pivotal moment, Alp Arslan had succeeded in forging an army with the moral and combat potential to face the might of the Byzantine Empire head-on. Part 8. The decisive moment, the fall of an emperor. In a masterstroke of military strategy, Alp Arslan turned the tide of battle against overwhelming odds. His primary objective, to prevent the encirclement of his forces. With precision and foresight, a contingent of his army lay in wait, ready to strike from behind and disrupt the Byzantine ranks. As combat ensued, the Seljuk army, unified and relentless, charged forward in an arrow formation. Their target was none other than the heart of the Byzantine force, the Emperor's tent. This elite faction, tasked with breaching the Emperor's guard, embodied the essence of speed and ferocity. The climax of the battle arrived swiftly. Sultan Alp Arslan's elite penetrated the defences, capturing Romanus IV. With the Emperor's crown hoisted upon a spear, a signal of his defeat was broadcast across the field, sowing seeds of chaos and despair among the Byzantine troops. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. Witnessing the emblem of their emperor's authority raised as a trophy of war, the Byzantine forces crumbled. What had been an imposing army moments before disintegrated into a retreating mass, their cohesion undone by the loss of their leader. In a striking turn of events, the battle, expected to be a showcase of Byzantine might, ended with the emperor in chains. The swift and strategic strike by the Seljuks not only secured a monumental victory, but also marked a pivotal moment in the history of the Seljuk Empire and the wider Islamic world. Part 9. Unraveling the Tapestry of Manzikert. The Battle of Manzikert, a confrontation steeped in legend and lore, continues to perplex and fascinate historians. The disparity in numbers between the Seljuk and Byzantine forces paints a David versus Goliath tableau, yet the outcome narrates a different story. Estimations of the Seljuks' army strength fluctuate wildly among scholars, with figures ranging from 50 to 100,000. Conversely, assessments of the Byzantine forces shrink in some accounts, suggesting a closer parity in numbers than initially believed. The defeat of such a vast and varied force is attributed to multiple factors. The lack of cohesion within the Byzantine ranks, a melting pot of cultures and loyalties, sowed the seeds of discord. Allegations of betrayal by non-Roman commanders further tainted the Byzantine cause, suggesting internal rifts that weakened their stance. Compounding the Byzantine disarray, reports suggest that Turkish mercenaries abandoned their posts, swayed by ethnic ties over religious allegiance. This act of desertion, real or imagined, underscored the fragility of alliances in the heat of battle. Some accounts even invoke the whims of nature, with a sudden shift in the wind favouring the Seljuk advance. Such elements, though minor in isolation, collectively contributed to the Byzantine downfall. Despite the myriad of analyses and theories, all narratives converge on a singular truth. The battle was decisively quick, a testament to the Seljuk strategic acumen and perhaps to the Byzantine Empire's internal weakness. The enormity of the Byzantine defeat at Manzikert wasn't just a loss of territory, but a seismic shift in medieval power dynamics. As the dust settled on the plains of Manzikert, the world awoke to a changed landscape. The ripple effects of this battle would shape the course of history for centuries to come, a vivid reminder of the unpredictable nature of war and the enduring quest to understand it. Part 10. A political earthquake and an unprecedented gesture. The Battle of Manzikert was not merely a military debacle for the Byzantine Empire. It precipitated a profound political upheaval. For the first time in the annals of conflict between the Islamic and Byzantine worlds, a Muslim army had captured a reigning emperor. The historical encounters, such as the Battle of Masts under Caliph Uthman ibn Affan, paled in comparison to this monumental event. The defeat inflicted upon Romanos IV Diogenes transcended the battlefield. plunging the Byzantine court into turmoil over the succession of the throne. The capture of an emperor was not just a military triumph, but a seismic political shockwave. In the custody of Alp Arslan, Romanos IV presented a pitiable figure of defeat. Yet, it was in this moment of victory that the Sultan demonstrated a gesture of magnanimity unparalleled in the chronicles of warfare. Recognizing the diminished threat posed by the discredited ruler, Alp Arslan chose clemency over vengeance. Alp Arslan's terms for Romanos' release were strategic yet lenient. An annual tribute of 1.5 million dinars, the liberation of all Muslim prisoners, and a 50-year truce. Romanos IV, belligerent and vanquished, acceded to these demands, a testament to his desperate straits. This act of leniency by Alp Arslan was not merely a personal decision, but a strategic maneuver. A debilitated Romanos IV returns to power, served the Seljuk interests more effectively than any new, potentially vindictive emperor could. The Sultan's foresight ensured peace and stability, leveraging defeat into a long-term advantage. Part 11. Legacy of Manzikert, a new era for Anatolia. In the wake of Manzikert, Romanos IV Diogenes faced a fate as tragic as the empire's loss. Ostracized by his own people and deprived of his sight, the fallen emperor's end was emblematic of the Byzantine Empire's irreversible decline. Yet, beyond the immediate turmoil, the battle's aftermath heralded a transformative era for the lands of Anatolia and Armenia. The seismic shift in power saw vast territories transition into the sphere of Muslim influence, setting the stage for an unprecedented cultural and demographic transformation. The spread of Islam in these regions was not merely a change of faith, but a profound reshaping of identities and destinies. Manzikert marked the dawn of Turkish dominion in Anatolia, a legacy that would endure for centuries. The Seljuk victory paved the way for the eventual rise of the Ottoman Empire, a power that would not only capture Constantinople, but also extend its reach to the gates of Vienna. Today, the Battle of Manzikert is venerated as a pivotal moment that secured Turkish presence and influence in Anatolia. It symbolizes the resilience of martial prowess of the Turks, establishing a narrative of triumph that continues to inspire. The ramifications of Manzikert were felt well beyond its immediate aftermath, echoing through the corridors of history to shape the geopolitical landscape of the modern world. The fall of Byzantine Anatolia and the rise of Turkish power constitute a turning point, marking the beginning of a new era in the history of the Middle East and Eastern Europe. Part 12. The Dawn of the Crusades, a new chapter in history. The aftermath of Manzikert was a harbinger of change, not just for the Byzantine Empire, but for the entirety of Christian Europe. The once mighty bastion against the Islamic expansion began to falter, sending ripples of unease through the Western churches. The dual shock of Manzikert and the Battle of Sagrajaz, where the Almoravids secured Andalusia's future, was a clarion call to the Christian world. This collective apprehension catalyzed a historic mobilization, the Crusades, a series of expeditions embarked upon with the dual purpose of reclaiming the Holy Land and stemming the Islamic tide. The Crusades were a manifestation of a revitalized European Christianity determined to assert its presence. Even as the Seljuk Empire waned in the aftermath of its founding sultan's departures, the Crusaders made significant advances into Anatolia, breaching the region of Rum. For 2 centuries, they entrenched themselves in the Levant, making an era of conflict and cultural exchange until the advent of Saladin, who would later recapture Jerusalem. The Crusades, spanning over 2 centuries, ended not with a resurgence of European power in the Holy Land, but in defeat, a testament to the enduring resilience of the Islamic states. These events set the stage for profound shifts in military, cultural, and religious dynamics between the West and the Islamic world. In upcoming episodes, we delve into the Crusades' lasting impacts, exploring this complex period from both the Western and Islamic viewpoints. The echoes of Manzikert and the Crusades resonate through history, not as mere battles, but as milestones that shaped civilizations. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and remember, history is not just about where we've been, but also about where we're going.